What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Light Pole Podcast. I'm your host today, Kyler. Today with us, we got our co-hosts Darian, Joey, and Wiley. And today is going to be a slightly larger episode, a longer one. We got a lot to cover. As always, we have the movie news, Mando review, Season 2, Episode 5, and Episode 3, which is where we talked about movies, our top 3 movies. We got into a little tangent about space, and we talked a little about oceans. And for some reason, you guys actually seem to really like it. So today, we're going to be talking a little more about space, some crazy phenomena that exist in our actual universe. And we're going to be talking about some movies that cover space really well. So a lot to cover this episode. Let's jump right into it with movie news. What do you guys got?
Go ahead, Wiley. I think I know where your movie news is going. I think I might have spoiled it for myself. Special. So you lay it out.
I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But mine is about streaming services. So
yes.
Okay. Yeah. You might have spoiled it a little bit. So as you guys know, HBO had announced that they were gonna bring Wonder Woman to the platform as well as the in-theater release, right? HBO Max.
Yep.
Well, HBO Max said, you know what? Let's jump the gun here. Let's do it for all our 2021 lineup. So any movie that HBO Max has the rights to are coming cinematically to the theaters and on the streaming services. So just to give you a few, let me give you a few names. Godzilla vs. Kong, Suicide Squad, the James Gunn version, Wonder Woman 84, which we already knew, the new Space Jam movie, The Matrix 4.
You just breezed over something? What? Go back?
Wonder
Space Jam?
LeBron's doing a Space Jam movie, bro.
Space Jam,
bro.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's been in the works for like 6 years.
Yeah, it's been in the works for a while.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And a huge one, Dune. Dune is coming to HBO Max.
And you know how excited I am for Dune.
Yeah.
I got
my
leather-bound copy up there. I am so excited for that movie.
So yeah, there's a few other ones, Mortal Kombat, a Tom and Jerry movie,
The Matrix 4.
So I heard about Tom and Jerry.
Yes.
My dad was actually just telling me about it.
Movie, yeah.
But it's going to be live action and animated, like together,
you guys haven't seen the trailer?
I haven't seen it yet. No.
There's a trailer?
Yeah, so essentially
it's like
the
Who
way
Killed Roger Rabbit, right? Or Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, pretty much, just with better graphics. So the way
jeez.
The way Sonic was, how that was kind of animated and live action at the same time, that's where they're going with Tom and Jerry. But it's a different animation style.
It's like straight up cartoon, like old school Tom and Jerry, right? Like that kind of animation?
Like they have like a newer one now, but
they look good.
Yeah.
It doesn't look crazy.
I saw a screen grab of it. I didn't see.
Like, why are they making Clifford? You just can't question anymore.
I mean, I'll take Tom and Jerry over Clifford.
No, 100% without a doubt, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, let me see. Also, The Matrix 4 is coming out on HBO Max.
I said
that's
that.
what I was trying to.
I said that, but
that's interesting.
Is there already in Matrix 4?
No, it's just 3.
Just the trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I always thought there were 4. Okay.
Yep. So my movie news mainly is coming out of the Star Wars realm. But first, they announced the runtime for Wonder Woman 1984. It's 2 hours and 31 minutes.
Wow.
Which is a shopping film.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Considering how long the first film felt, it did kind of drag on. That third act I wasn't a big fan of.
That's because there were 52 slow motion scenes, and I know because I counted every single one of them.
Yeah.
You're right.
52.
Ares looks so awkward. I just did not.
With the mustache. Why?
Yeah, he had that
like
muscular body.
He looks like Tyrion right now.
Déjame en paz. All right. Moving on. The next Star Wars leak is they have over a dozen shows in production right now that are going to be coming out in the next 4 years. One of them is rumored to be a Mace Windu show where he's training a new Padawan with Samuel L. Jackson returning.
That's
Post
awesome.
66?
Not confirmed. Could be before, and maybe his Padawan dies. Might be a limited series. That's as far as the leak
We've
went.
never seen Windu with a Padawan, right?
Exactly.
No. He's so aggressive. That Padawan is going to be so angry.
I know. That's
do
you
your
hold the
job.
lightsaber. Exactly.
Oh my god.
All right, the next leak of show is going to be a possible Ahsoka show. That's the one I'm seeing most often right now.
Okay.
That the reason they dropped her in Mandalorian was because she's going to have her own spinoff.
Okay.
And rumor has it Hayden Christensen is coming back to reprise his role
I did hear that.
As a Force ghost.
as a
As
Force, Ghost.
Ghost.
Yeah.
And maybe like flashbacks for.
Maybe in flashbacks, yeah, if they
Yeah.
do the live action show with Ahsoka.
I have
Yeah,
to give
I
my
did hear
dad
that.
credit for that because he heard about that before I did, and he was very excited to tell me something I
Yeah.
didn't know. So
Hayden-
there
yo,
you go, Pop.
Hayden's literally just chilling. This man owns
Yeah.
a farm. He's just chilling with
I
his
saw
daughter.
that.
Yeah, like it's awesome.
But people are like trying to make it seem like Star Wars community loved him when that first movie
No,
when that
they
first
all
movie
hated
came
him.
out.
They all hated him.
They hated
It's-
him.
it's-
They did him dirty.
It's now the newer generation of Star Wars fans where they don't realize the amount of hate that the prequels got. Yeah, now
And-
they love him.
Don't get me wrong. Attack of the Clones, I mean, Hayden Christensen was a little dry. Wasn't my favorite. But Revenge of the
Whined
Sith,
a little too much.
Revenge of the Sith
I mean,
hit
why he
home,
whined
man.
a lot.
He did
Revenge of
whine.
the Sith is my movie.
Ooh.
So,
Before we get too far into this,
yes.
we have to acknowledge a death in the Star Wars community.
Right.
David Prowse.
David Prowse, the person who played the physical Darth Vader,
Man behind
passed
bars.
away. I think last Friday was it,
Sounds about right.
or Saturday, around there. It was like right after we recorded our last episode.
Yeah. Might
So
have been
yeah,
this
big
week.
loss.
It might have been like,
It was recent, within the last week.
but
Yeah.
yeah, man.
And for
that's
those-
crazy.
For those who don't know, David Prowse played Darth Vader inside the costume, and James Earl Jones was the voice
Mhm.
of Darth Vader that you hear in the movies. And interestingly enough, for A New Hope, James Earl Jones went uncredited so that David Prowse could receive the credit for that
Yeah.
as Darth Vader because he thought that was more impactful than just reading the lines.
No kidding.
So,
I mean,
Did
yeah,
David
go
Prowse
dude.
reprise the role in?
I believe he did all three.
Wait, no, you said A New Hope.
Yeah. I think
I
James
don't
Earl
know
Jones
why.
got
I was
credit in
thinking
5 and
I
Rogue
was
6.
One, right?
thinking Rogue One for some reason.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
In his
Yeah,
hometown, they
okay.
put a statue of Darth Vader.
I love
What?
that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where's his
Oh,
hometown?
awesome.
I think it's like Bristol. Is it England? Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I
Oh, he's
figured he wasn't
British.
from the US.
Yeah, he's
I didn't know he was British. Oh, okay.
Like
So,
Alec
yeah.
Guinness.
It's
Yeah,
Darth
big
Vader doing
loss.
the force choke.
Well, that's a nice moment. That's touching.
All gonna be going soon, man.
other movie news. Other movie news. First look at Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series. Haley
Yes.
Steinfeld. And I saw another picture today where she's holding the bow, and it looks amazing. I love it.
So
Yeah.
I actually read all the Hawkeye comics, and they are incredible. They're honestly one of my favorite comic book series because he's not like a crazy amazing superhero. He's just
He's
a normal
weak.
dude with really good aim. Yes,
Stop hating.
but he doesn't go up against like anyone crazy like Thanos or anything like that. It's nothing like that. It's his level, but he's just like every time he goes out as Hawkeye, he comes back and everyone in his he lives in an apartment. It's like a really like crappy apartment, and all of his neighbors are like, "Hey, you're Hawkeye, right?" And he's just like, "Yeah." And he always has like cuts and stuff all over him. He just looks super dejected all the time. It's hilarious. There's so much like character there, and it's just awesome. So I'm really, really excited to see what they're gonna bring to live action. If they're gonna take that same kind of like,
I wonder if they'll make him deaf here.
yeah,
That's a big Hawkeye thing. That he's deaf in
Yeah.
one ear. Yeah.
because
Is it
it
one
messes
ear?
with him a lot. Yes,
It's just one, right?
He's like, I think he's like partially deaf, and then he has a dog that he like saves, and he pretty much like adopts too. But the dog is all like beat up all the time too, and he looks miserable. It's just amazing.
That's like the show I'm least excited for or have the least expectations.
I like it.
So
I don't know.
I'm really excited.
It's gonna pass my expectations, which is cool. I'm sure. it'll be
Even
good.
in like what was it, Age of Ultron, when he's trying to give Wanda and Pietro the pep talk, and he's like, "Look, we have an army of robots out there, and I'm a dude with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
I'm like way out of my league
He's
here."
like,
So
none,
he acknowledges
he's like, none of
the
this
fact
makes
that
any sense. Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
like I'm not prepared for this, but I'm still doing
Marvel-
it because I have to. So
Marvel recognized that though. They didn't have him like going up against Thanos with the bow.
No,
like, he was doing things. to
He was a
help.
great
He was a
support. Yeah. which was
Exactly.
awesome.
So I respect that.
Keeping on with the whole Disney thing. and Hawkeye. Apparently, Florence Pugh is returning. Well, I say returning because Black Widow was supposed to be out already. But
Florence
supposedly she's gonna be in the Hawkeye series, and like donning a Ronin type suit. Florence Pugh is the blonde in the Black Widow trailer.
Okay.
She looks like an angel.
I love Florence Pugh.
I'm drawing a blank. I'll look her up
man.
after.
She's from
That is incredibly
Midsummer.
unfortunate.
She did that movie The Rock where she's like a WWE thing.
She's more of an up and coming actor. She's been in a few
Okay.
movies past
She
years.
was
but
in the-
like,
If I
Midsommar
see her,
was
I'll
like-
probably recognize her.
She was
I just-
in
I can't.
the new movie with Meryl Streep. What is it? Little Woman. Based on
Oh,
the
and
book.
Emma, the girl from Harry Potter,
Emma
Watson?
Watson.
Watson.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her.
Yeah. I'm
Anyway,
so
that's
mad.
it for my
It's
movie
fine.
news. I don't know if you guys have anything else.
What do you guys think of the Batcave?
I like it.
Love it.
I like
Out
it.
in the open.
You haven't seen
Yeah, it's kind of like
pictures,
out in the
Kyler?
open a little bit. It's like the
I
caves.
try to stay away from movie news because I want to hear things live on the
Okay.
Well,
podcast.
it's okay.
Well,
How do we
So-
pull up a picture here? Because I would love to pull that up and show.
Share screen. If you have
pull
the
it up on Safari.
If you have the
Yeah,
photo
yeah.
ready, yeah.
And so while you look that up, anyways, it's like the Batcave's out in the open a little bit. I mean, it's still a cave, but it's just more open. And they show a picture on set and saying Gotham
is
is supposed to.
Yeah,
the
the
Batman.
right?
Yeah, the Batman.
Pattinson.
They said it's also going to be in the winter, but I told
Yeah.
Dan, like, isn't it always cold
It's
in
always
Gotham?
it's always
You never see a beautiful sunny summer day in Gotham. It's impossible.
That's one thing that I really loved about the Arkham games. The like weather.
Uh-huh.
It was always like it felt cool because it's like
Gloomy all
snowing
the
or
time.
raining or something. It's super depressing. It's like Seattle. But it was really appealing to look at.
I like the way it looks. To be honest with
it
you,
looks pretty cool to me. I like it.
I think it looks
It's
awesome.
I
interesting.
like the whole feel of this movie.
So
It's
if
definitely
if
my
he's
type.
if he's a new and up and coming Batman, is it like full of stuff or is it like pretty barren?
I mean, we see in the trailer he has like computers and whatnot, but I don't think it's like 100% complete. I doubt.
All
it's
right, so I'm gonna
100%
try to share
complete.
my Safari screen here.
I think
no
it looks like
giant
half
T-Rex,
done type.
Yeah.
No giant penny or anything.
Oh, I gotta type in my code. Sorry, guys.
Oh, you're killing
gonna
me.
get
Prince
this
of
done.
Dead Air.
Dead air. Dead air.
Why don't you just move on
Anyways,
and
Fresh-
improvise?
Fresh
like the
Prince of Dead
garbage
Air.
host you are.
Which Star
Get
Wars
off my
movie
back.
was it where Rey meets Luke?
Last
Which
Jedi.
one was that?
Well, the very
Was it Last
end
Jedi?
of Force Awakens, and
And then
then
it continues into Last
it
Jedi.
continues. Yes.
So apparently, when Luke was burning down the tree, originally they were gonna have Anakin pop up as a Force ghost,
Yeah.
but he said there would be no attachment to him since he
Oh,
never
I
knew
saw
him
that.
as like that. It was either gonna
Can
be
you guys see
like Darth
this?
Vader.
I can. Yeah.
or not. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
I hate his
So-
hair. That hair is horrible.
His comb over is
All right.
He's
terrible.
got like a bowl cut. What's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
So
a
that's
different
the
era, too.
aerial view of it. And then
And nobody sees that. That's literally.
Yeah, no,
If
there's
you
not-
take a helicopter right over Gotham, you're kind of right there.
yeah.
Penguin's like,
So
is that the Batcave? I think it's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not.
That doesn't look too
The
bad.
Ryan Johnson thing is interesting. I don't know. I haven't watched The Last Jedi since it came out.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I try to stay away from that one. That's
Yeah,
the movie
I
that
saw-
Star Wars fans don't talk about.
I saw a clip
Yeah.
of. I don't know if I sent it to you, Darian. It was Sam Witwer explaining why Last Jedi was poorly like written. He was like,
Really?
yeah, he was like live on stream. I think he was playing Battlefront, and someone commented and asked like what he thought about
I
Last
love
Jedi.
Sam Witwer.
Yeah,
He's
he was
amazing.
playing. He was playing as Darth Maul, so it's amazing.
Of course.
So he was like, The Last Jedi to me was a movie by a great director who just didn't do his homework. Because he was like, Ryan Johnson's amazing. He does a lot of amazing work. But if you really did your homework, you would understand the character of Luke. You would understand, like, it didn't make any sense where he was like, he ran away because he was embarrassed about how he handled the whole Kylo situation. But then at the end of the movie, he's just like trash talking him and talking junk to him. He was like, why would you be embarrassed about it and feel pain and then start trash talking him? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, and I get that, but you have an entire team. There's a whole
Yeah.
company,
That's true.
Lucasfilm,
That's
who's
true.
supposed to go and say, okay,
No,
I see what you're doing, but this kind of doesn't make sense for the character.
Yep.
There's so many people that should have stopped that before it made it to the big screen, and they didn't.
Yeah.
So that
That
was a
should have been
failure on
stopped.
everyone's part.
Yeah,
Even-
that
I
should have been
mean-
stopped when Ryan Johnson was drafted as the director, because for a movie like Star Wars or even Star Trek, if you're directing it, you need to be a fan first, director second. And that's why J.J. Abrams killed The Force Awakens. And I get the criticisms for that movie, but it's in my top 4. Love The Force Awakens. I think you couldn't reboot the franchise better than that. You couldn't kick off a last trilogy better than what that movie did.
Yeah.
And he's a fan first. J.J. Abrams knows Star Wars. So if you have someone like that doing it, it's going to come out better than someone
which is
who's
why
doing regular
which is
movies.
why when you have now, you take the animated and you take Mandalorian, you have Filoni and Favreau, who are huge fans of it.
Fans first.
They work directly with George Lucas to like bring out his vision. So like that's why it works.
I need Sam Witwer in a director's chair.
Sam Witwer, he would be
man
good. I don't
would be absolutely incredible.
I don't know how he is as a director.
Maybe
like
as a
direct
writer.
consultant.
Give him a shot. I guarantee
Give him
you
an
he would kill it.
episode. We're giving Bryce Dallas Howard an
Give
episode.
him an episode. Give him something, because his Star Wars knowledge is so ridiculously insane. And on this note, we're gonna move it into the Mando review.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about all the incredible things that Dave Filoni,
spoiler warning.
praise his soul, did.
Big spoiler
Because
warning.
Yeah, big,
Season
big
2,
spoiler warning.
Episode 5, there's a lot of stuff we're gonna unpack here. It was a huge episode. They went into a lot of different things, and we're gonna unpack all of it. We're gonna start with ratings before we get into all the details and stuff like that. I want to start with Darian.
All right. Before I give my rating, we're mentioning Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau a lot in this kind of stuff, and I want people to know exactly who they are. Dave Filoni is one of the creators and directors of the animated show Clone Wars and Rebels, and he's basically George Lucas's protege for the new era of Star Wars.
He's his Padawan, if you want.
Exactly.
Put it in Star Wars terms, he's his Padawan, like 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's running the show with Jon Favreau for Mandalorian. So when we mention Dave Filoni, think of George Lucas. Think of the person who is taking the helm of Star Wars going forward. And with that, this episode, are we doing 0.5s?
You could do
You
0.5s
said
if you want.
no point.
I know.
You said no 0.5. Yeah.
I'm not
I
a big
wanna
of
do
point.
0.5s.
I'm not a fan of 0.5s because I believe
you're gonna say 9.5.
I was gonna say 9.5 because this is my favorite episode of the show so far. But if something happens, that's crazier next episode, and Grogu like snaps Ahsoka's neck, that's a 10 out of 10. Okay, so that's it's a 10 out of 10.
You can
I
you
can't
can
go
have
back.
more than one 10 out of 10 though.
For real,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's not like it takes
It's-
that
You
spot
have to have a
forever.
number
It's
one.
not-
Yeah, just rating for that episode.
All right, then I'd give this one a 10 out of 10. I thought this was a flawless episode for a variety of reasons.
Okay, Joey.
I would say 9.5 out of 10, just because at the very end when they mentioned Thrawn, I texted Wiley. I was like, I think I know who this is, but I'm not 100% sure. But you
Okay.
know, I didn't get the same feeling as you guys had. So that's why
Anyone-
I got 0.5.
Anyone who's watched Rebels or read any of like the novels knows that Thrawn is like a really big bad guy in the Star Wars universe. And well, okay, before I start gushing,
I'm
Wiley,
catching up.
what's your what's your rating?
This one's difficult for me, but I might say 10 out of 10. That's kind of what I'm
Big
leaning more.
man.
Kind of what I'm leaning more towards. 10 out of 10.
And I agree. I give it a 10 out of 10. I gave it 10 out of
Let's
10 the second the credits started rolling because I spent half of the episode just screaming
Yeah.
in
Oh man,
100%.
ecstasy.
that's why when I watched it, I was like, I need Darian and Kyler to watch this like right now. Like,
Yeah.
I need that, especially because you guys would know. I'm sorry, Joey, but it's like there's
No,
a
it's
lot of
okay.
things that
Understand.
you didn't catch.
I understand.
Joey looked like a sassy Hispanic woman right there. He said, lo que tú quieras. Yo estoy
I'm a
aquí."
Padawan. They're Jedi Masters. It's whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
Oh man, anyone who has a deep knowledge base in Star Wars and especially in Legends is going to have such an appreciation for this episode because Legends is something that a lot of directors and stuff who are doing canon work try to stay away from. They don't really touch it. And it's a shame because there's so much amazing stuff in there. And for this episode, Dave Filoni just said, you know what? Screw it. And he just scooped out as much as he could fit into one episode and just made it work.
This
and
is
he
why
just
I
Jackson
love
Pollocked
Filoni.
it. Oh my God. It was
He's not
so
afraid.
amazing.
He's like legends. Yeah, let's bring it all in. Who cares? Like, it's amazing.
And it
Now-
makes so much sense to give everything, like, flush it out.
Yeah.
Tython, the origin of the Jedi, has never been made canon until this episode.
Well,
They
let's
announced
take
it as
step
a
at
planet.
time. Let's take a step at a time.
Yeah, let's
So-
start from the
Okay.
beginning of the
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
episode.
Okay,
Let's start from the very beginning.
so go ahead. We have
Well,
I was
you-
shaking.
on our notes, Ahsoka would be the first thing
Yeah,
because she
I
was
was
the
shaking.
very first person.
I saw those white sabers, man. I texted
What is-
Wiley so quick. I was like,
Yeah.
yo!
What an opening scene! Straight to action, straight up the Jedi. Boom! Immediately, Ahsoka right there.
I want to apologize to Rosario Dawson
No.
for the doubt and the shade
I-
thrown at her on my part in this
I
podcast.
want to
Tyler.
apologize because I'm the one who gave her the most flack.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
still not a huge fan of her as an actress, just because I don't know. Maybe it's the roles that I've seen her in. I'm just like, eh.
You did call her a burnt toad. That was
I
your
did.
words.
I did tell her that. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, as Ahsoka, she looked incredible.
Yeah.
She played the part flawlessly.
Yep.
And I owe her an apology. And if I ever meet Rosario Dawson in person, I will shake her hand and apologize, or I'll social distance and say sorry from 6 feet away. But
I give her a big old hug.
she
Maybe even a
she
kiss on the cheek. She killed it.
absolutely
I say yeah.
slaughtered the
Whatever.
role.
I think
killed
my
it.
only issue with the live action Ahsoka was the size of the Leku, but
Mhm.
that's
I did
for-
hear about that.
for practical reasons. It would have been too heavy. It would have gotten in the way, whatever. So
Mhm.
I mean I understand it, but you can't always
So-
be perfect when you go from animated to live action.
The
But that's such a
reason that-
small thing. It's,
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
what I'm saying.
It's so inconsequential. Go ahead.
Yeah.
D.
The reason I think that this show is so good, and I mentioned it before, is that you can have someone who hasn't seen the Clone Wars yet, like Joey, he's watching it now, and still appreciate the awesomeness of this episode. The white sabers were sick, the fight scenes were sick, the opening was sick. And then there's the next level for the people who know and have a relationship with Ahsoka from Clone Wars, from Rebels, from the comics and the books. And that's what's so cool about the balance of the show, that everyone watching is like, oh, they're going to Tython, a new planet. Like, that's going to be cool. And for us, like, I
Mind
kicked the
blown.
table in front of me
Yeah.
Oh my
when you
God.
hear Tython. And
I
the
paused and
only-
rewound, and I was like, did I just hear that?" Like I was like,
Yeah,
I was
same,
like, it's
same.
like,
I put on subtitles. I had to make sure. But the only reason that I give it a tentative 10 is because I don't want Mandalorian to go in the direction of recycling characters we already know. I think the reason it's been so good is because it's Mando and Grogu on their journey with all these new characters, Cara Dune and the African American
Farga.
fella from the early videos.
Karga.
Karga.
Yeah, be
That's-
politically correct.
that's Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are new characters, and I thought that's why we love the show so much. And Moff Gideon is like this villain that you're like, oh, this is amazing, new villain. And now we hear Ahsoka and we hear Thrawn. As cool as it is to fanboy out, I just hope that they don't go in a direction we already know. Like, I want it to be new characters, new villains.
Yeah, I think right
respect that.
now it's in a point where it came from Mando's story, and now it's moving into something much bigger that he was dragged into because of. Okay.
Oh, you heard that? I'm sorry. I can't.
What
We need a
happened?
soundboard, dude. You didn't hear Wiley choke?
I choked.
No.
When did I choke?
All right.
I didn't hear anything.
It's okay.
What I choked,
okay.
bro?
You'll
I
hear
tried
it
to
on
hold
the
in my
playback.
laughter.
What did I say? What did I say? No, what did
Joey was slowly
no.
sinking into the floor over here.
What did I
I was
say?
like, let me grab a sip of my beer. I'm gonna move on. he just started speaking. He was like,
I honestly didn't even catch that. Yeah, that's really
he's like, I'm listening to Ryan. All right.
Oh man.
He sound like what's the reporter dude?
Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton. Oh,
I don't even know what I was talking about anymore, man.
I don't know.
Oh, you were talking about Star Wars.
Yeah. All right, well, let's just go
Mandalorian.
back. Let's just one of the biggest reveals of the episode. Grogu, Baby Yoda has a name. The child has a name.
Finally.
We learn a lot of backstory, but at the same time, kind of vague. You know, we know he was on the Jedi Temple in Coruscant. He trained with many Jedi, according to Ahsoka. Like, that's insane. This man, he has training.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing that a lot of people forget because they call him Baby Yoda is
He's 50 years old.
he's 50 years old. So he's older
Retire.
than Mando himself.
Yeah.
He's had time. I mean, yeah, his aging is different, so he's still kind of
infant,
like
yeah.
infant stages of his life. But he's old enough that he's had time to train and learn how to use the Force and probably use a lightsaber too. And he's suppressed a lot of these memories because of Order 66 having to hide his identity as a Jedi and all that stuff. But as he continues his training on Tython, there's a good chance that we'll see him actually start to use his abilities with lightsabers and the Force in a pretty like hardcore way, which will be awesome to see.
Now,
So interestingly enough, was that the first lightsaber we saw in this series? Ahsoka's?
dark saber, if you
the
count
dark
dark
saber.
saber.
Good point. I was just wondering. I haven't read that anywhere.
But
I was
other,
like, oh,
other
who's
than
lightsabers?
that, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
The first Jedi-ish person using one.
Yeah.
I would
Force
say
user.
I would say too interesting
Jedi,
was that Ahsoka said he could possibly lean towards the dark side.
She
Because
referred to Anakin.
He has a lot of fear and anger.
Ooh,
So
yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
that's a
Anakin
big,
reference.
I didn't
yeah.
catch that. You're right.
Awesome reference for anyone watching when Ahsoka was talking about how it would be dangerous to train Grogu because of his connection to Mando, and she said that she's seen Jedi masters who have succumbed to these like emotions, these connections. That's a reference to her master, Anakin Skywalker.
She said, "I've seen what it could do to a fully trained Jedi." So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool little underhanded reference without saying the name.
As soon as she said that, I was like, oh my goodness.
yeah,
Yeah.
I got
She's
a little
talking
bit of
about Anakin.
goosebumps. I got
There were a lot
Yeah.
of like little nods to the original trilogy and the prequels and stuff like that, and it was really really cool to see a lot. And when she went to go face off, I can't remember the lady's name. The like
Nobody
Magistrate.
can.
okay,
The magistrate something thing.
The magistrate,
Oh,
yeah.
the magistrate.
When she went to face off against her, I don't know if it was supposed to be like a nod to that, but the way she took off her cloak, it just screamed Obi-Wan to me.
Plus,
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, Anakin, multiple Jedi
Yeah.
have done that.
Anakin did it too.
I think Obi-Wan went through what, like 16 cloaks during the Clone Wars?
That's true.
Because
When he was
he
on
had to.
Utapau fighting Grievous. When he was
yeah,
on Mustafar.
he would always like just so dramatically like shrug his cloak off
Hello there.
and then just leave it there and never go back for it. So he had to keep going
Yeah.
back to the council and be like, yeah, I gotta requisition a new cloak. They're
Now-
like, Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
this has been 15. Come on now.
There was a theory that Joey, did you find her name?
Morgan Elspeth.
Morgan Elsbeth, yeah.
That's her real name?
No, that's the
No,
character.
no, it's in the show. Character in the
That's the
show.
most
a weird-
forgettable Star Wars name
She's
I've ever
actually-
heard.
Yeah,
in my
that's a really
life.
weird Star Wars
She's
name.
actually the daughter of Bruce Lee.
No
What?
kidding.
Mm-hmm. She's Bruce Lee's
That's a really
goddaughter,
cool-
Okay.
His goddaughter.
yeah. His goddaughter. It's 'cause I'm trying to like clear my throat.
Pulling out the Boston. Say, that's his goddaughter. Clocking it.
Anywho,
There was a theory that she was a Night Sister. And that's why she
Ooh.
fought Ahsoka so well.
Are you
Mm.
kidding me?
Yeah. And because I was watching the fight and I was like, why is Ahsoka like struggling against this Beskar wielding magistrate?
No, but
like
they explain her origin. They said she's like the last living of a certain planet. And we've seen it in the show. I forget the name of the planet. She was just
Oh,
like
I don't remember.
part of like a wealthy family, I think.
Okay. Well, I
But
just
I
saw
mean-
the theory that she
but
was
I mean,
part of
if
the
she
Night
was-
Sisters, possibly.
If she was working under like Thrawn and stuff, I'm sure she received training.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, for anyone listening, if you've seen the Clone Wars, then you should know who the Night Sisters are. If not, Asajj Ventress, who's a pretty main character throughout the Clone Wars show, is a Night Sister that went under the training of Count Dooku. Most of the Night Sisters are like assassins. From
Which they are also in the
Dathomir, I think was
Yes.
the planet, right? Dathomir, yeah.
Same
Which is
one
the
Darth
same
Maul's
planet
from.
that Maul is from, yeah. And Savage Press, also from Dathomir.
Yeah.
Zabrix.
the sisters. You can also see them in the game, right? The Jedi game, the new one.
Yeah.
Don't you fight
Yeah,
some of
they're-
them?
Fallen Order.
Yep.
Fallen Order. Yeah.
Okay.
There are Night Sisters in there?
Yeah.
Yep.
I still haven't
You,
played
you,
it.
you go. I think you go on Dathomir, right? I believe so.
I believe you go on.
You actually have to.
Yeah.
You actually
What,
have
a
to fight them.
planet?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Also,
Also,
in Fallen Order. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead,
after
go
you.
ahead.
Unbelievable.
They
So much
mention
politeness.
in Fallen Order. They mention Yaddle, which is only the third canon reference to Yaddle, who is the female of Yoda's species.
Mhm.
First two are in the Phantom Menace episode 1 when she's seated at the High Council meeting, and the second is in the Darth Vader comic, the last one from 2 years ago. There's a scene where Anakin, who's now Darth Vader, goes to a hidden Jedi temple, and he fights all of the Jedi Masters from the High Council in episode 3, alive and dead. So, Mace Windu is there, Ki-Adi Mundi is there, Kit Fisto's there, and you see Yaddle, and that was the second time that they confirmed her as canon. So I thought that was really cool.
Oh, okay.
So now we have 3 canon species of Yoda species.
Exactly.
3. Wow.
References.
Okay. References. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And that, Kyler, what were you going to say?
Going back to Dathomir, if you guys have seen the, I think it was called The Dark Disciple. I'm sorry, it's a book, which is more about Quinlan Voss.
Yeah.
Being used by the Jedi Council as an assassin. They ask him to assassinate Dooku, and he goes undercover. This is after Asajj left his training, and she's also an assassin, and they team up to go and assassinate Dooku. He falls to the dark side, kind of goes crazy, kills a few clones, and then is redeemed by Obi-Wan. Awesome book. If you guys ever get a chance to read it or listen to it, and the listeners as well, highly
Yeah,
recommend.
I've read a lot of them. I haven't caught that one yet.
Yeah, it's on Audible. That's where I heard it.
Okay.
Now, in the episode, they mentioned on Tython, he might come in contact with a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
If
Who
he's
do you
strong
guys think?
if he's strong enough in the Force, a Jedi could
Yep.
reach out to him. Apparently. So yeah.
So you know there's going to be a Jedi that's going to get in contact with him. That's the only reason they would mention that.
If he
Who do you
reaches
think it
out
is?
towards the light side, accepts it.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even think of the possibility of him reaching out to. But
Because
he wouldn't reach out to the
Tython,
dark side.
If
as we
he
discussed
wouldn't-
last time, Tython is very neutral, so it could really go either way.
Mhm.
Tython's
Now-
actually already canon.
Yeah, they announced the planet as canon, but they didn't say anything about its origins.
Yeah, it
Or
was in a
who used
comic,
to
and they
inhabit.
showed pictures of it.
Now, if they want to get serious about the accuracy, the fact that I'm assuming Tython probably won't be inhabited by a bunch of Jedi or anything like that. So his showing up
No.
there, being a Force user, should technically throw the planet into a Force storm.
That's if
Because-
that's if they get like really into Legends, because they
Yeah.
can change that whole dynamic of it and just
Yeah.
be just
Which I
Tython.
kind of hope they don't. I want to see like real hardcore, like pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah,
If they're going to bring stuff from Legends into canon, I want to see them do it.
I mean,
all the way.
how dope would that if he sits on top of the temple,
my
it
God.
reaches, and then all of a sudden a huge storm starts happening, and Mando's just like, "What the heck is going on?" You know, like
like how
Yeah.
cool would that look?
that would look
And
amazing.
Force Ghost Yoda and Force Ghost Palpatine come out, try to persuade him.
Just like the
Oh
angel and
my
the devil on his shoulder.
goodness. Yeah.
Tiny
and he's,
Force ghosts.
and he's a baby, so I mean, who knows?
it, Grogu.
But back to your question, Darian. I mean, there's multiple possibilities if he does reach out to the light side. The amount of Jedi that we know are alive currently, Cal Kestis from Fallen Order, as far as we know, is alive. We don't know if they come out with a sequel game and he dies. We don't know any of that, but as of right now, he's alive. We got Luke Skywalker, which is only 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So he
started his academy.
He's still pretty young.
Or starting it.
He could
Early
definitely
30s.
be looking for other Jedi to train.
Leia.
Yep.
Leia's alive, but I mean,
We don't want any more Leia. And Jose's gonna get mad if we get Leia on screen again. The whole time we sat there, The Last Jedi, I had to listen to him complain about the way she looks, and I was like, Jose, she's like 60-something years old. She's not gonna look like bikini Carrie Fisher from Return of the Jedi. Like, leave her alone. But anyway,
yeah. Okay, so we had Cal, we had Luke, we
Possibly
have
Mace.
possibly Mace Windu, because according to George Lucas, he is alive. He didn't. Well, he said he didn't die on that in episode 3. So,
and we know Samuel Jackson wants to come back.
yes, and we
He
know,
loves it.
and he would be the same age as Mace's
Can you
character.
imagine? You just,
I
he's
wanna
in a cloak
see-
and you don't see his face and you just
Yeah, I want to
pulls it
see.
off.
Mace Windu's always angry.
Scarred.
I want to see old angry Mace Windu. Like he's just like had it with life. Like he's just like, can someone please just kill me? Because I'm just tired of all this. And he's just
I got
like,
one robotic
stomping
arm.
around. Yeah, I want to see that. I would die if
It's
they
like,
gave
somebody
me...
get this Grogu off this mother-loving planet. That's what he's gonna do.
Also,
That's 3.
also, possibly another one that we are now assuming he's alive because of the mention of Thrawn. We have Ezra Bridger from Rebels.
I think he's the most likely.
I think so too, because the fact that Ahsoka's looking for him, I think it's just gonna tie everything together. Yeah.
The fact that Ahsoka is now in the show, the fact that she name dropped Thrawn in the same episode, and she sent him to Tython and said there's a Jedi that might look out for him.
That's a good point.
I mean, Ahsoka and Thrawn were both in Rebels.
Also, Rebels
And-
sequel was leaked. There's gonna be a Rebels sequel show.
It's
I
official.
did hear that.
I keep seeing it in a lot of different places.
I saw that it was rumored
Yeah.
because Filoni said
Mhm.
this episode of Mandalorian, we don't know if it took place after or before the epilogue at the end of Rebels. So I could keep it open.
Which that messed with my mind when I read that. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
Her
that's
timeline's a
4?
little weird, so we're not exactly sure where she's placed in there.
So that's for who did I say? I said Luke, Ezra, Mace, Cal.
Yep.
That's all I can
I don't
think
really
of.
know. Yeah.
As far as I know, that could be alive. That's all I know. I mean,
I don't think they would do Luke, and I hope they don't, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't want any more Skywalker references.
We're done with the
Well,
Skywalker.
references I don't mind, but I don't want to see like stories starting to revolve around Skywalker.
yeah.
I'm so tired of they need to move on.
Yeah.
Pick a different protagonist.
Yeah,
Also,
let's
I'm
get
sick of
Kylo
it.
Ren back.
Also, hold up. Is Moff Gideon working for Thrawn?
He's a lower status than Thrawn.
I mean,
Grand
and,
Moff.
and with
He's
all
just
those,
a Moff. He's not a Grand Moff.
all with those dark troopers, that seems like a Thrawn type of act to me.
Thrawn,
Yeah.
I love Thrawn because he's one of those villains that he could come in and kick your tail, but he would rather just like stand behind the scenes and just calculate everything. He's one of those really like cold and calculating villains, and I love that.
Yeah.
In Rebel, he was my favorite character in Rebels. By far.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Because he was just so menacing and
And
just
a
like
lot of people want to see
ah.
him live action. So this is
Oh my
big
goodness,
news.
I would
This is, like,
love
big
that.
news.
And in the books, it's interesting because he's not a villain in the new books. He is, but he's more of like a villain that you can sympathize with and that you're
Mhm.
rooting for. Whereas in the old books, like the late 90s, early 2000s, when
big
he was
bad
very
guy, right?
cold.
yeah.
Yeah, very big, very cold, very like you can tell this is the villain. Whereas in the new ones, it's like this is where he grew up, this is his sister, these are his family members, and you can kind of rationalize with him more. I appreciate that type of villain more.
Yeah.
Like Thanos or something like that. Someone that like, oh, poor guy has a daughter. He just wants to destroy half the universe. I mean,
Sure.
That's all.
yeah.
All right. So, as much as I would love to continue talking about
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian and Star Wars, it's time to move on to the main event, Space Talk.
Yes, sir.
You guys asked for it, so we're listening.
And we love
Not sure if you're
space.
going to like it, but as the host today, I went on a Google deep dive and just researched the coolest little phenomena that actually exist, like I said before, in our universe. And I gave the guys each the opportunity to choose one that I was able to find. So if you guys want to get started, we can start with Darian. And I didn't give them the actual phenomena. I gave them a word that related to it. So they didn't know until they picked it, which I thought was pretty fun.
I thought it was
so
too. Thank you, Kyler.
Yeah, it
Can
was
we go someone
Darian-
else first, though?
Oh, okay.
Can we go
Is
Joey
there a
first?
reason? Is there a reason?
I'm retyping a little bit to make it
Oh,
more
okay.
English.
All right. Yeah, I gave them just the like Wikipedia definitions, but
Yeah.
none of them know what the other one got. So everyone is going to be learning something here today.
I want to hear Joey's.
I'll just read it off the definition and we'll just discuss it.
Yeah,
So,
I was just gonna read it.
I chose boom, and I kind of guessed it. I already knew what this was going to be, but it was supernova. So thanks to Kyler for all his research. I'm going to read it off. A supernova happens when there is a change in the core or center of a star. One of the stars, a carbon-oxygen white dwarf, steals matter from its companion star. Eventually, the white dwarf accumulates too much matter. Having too much matter causes the star to explode. Boom, resulting in a supernova. Yes. This one, I didn't know. A few million years for the star to die, less than a quarter of a second for its core to collapse, a few hours for the shock wave to reach the surface of the star, a few months to brighten, and then just a few years to fade away. Now, that's just insane. The amount of time.
Lifespan of a supernova.
I think
Insane.
what gets me about that is that it takes so long for it to happen in real time, and then from us here on Earth, when we see the stars, that's light years away. We're seeing something that happened like hundreds, thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
And that blows my mind. Like, it's
for
crazy.
anyone listening, light years is literally like when you're looking out into space, it's technically it's like the equivalent of looking into a time machine. You're looking at the past. So when you see these bright spots in the sky, these are stars that exploded like millions of years ago, and that's just nuts to think about.
You can kind of see one with the naked eye if you've ever looked at a star for long enough, and you kind of see it blinking. It kind of looks like it's blinking red and blue.
It's twinkling.
It's twinkling. That's a supernova. It's exploding. Like that.
You're watching a star collapse into itself.
I found that out when I was a kid. I was looking at the stars in Puerto Rico with Wilo, my uncle, and like he said that to me, and I was like, no, and he explained it, and it blew my mind. I was like, no.
You know what's
way.
so cool? In places like Puerto Rico, you can actually see the millions and millions of stars.
There's
Whereas
light pollution.
Exactly. If you look at it from Waterbury or from Bristol, you're not gonna. I just see planes. I don't see stars.
I can't tell you how bad I want to go on a road trip to Death Valley.
Where's that?
It's in California, right? Or Arizona?
Arizona, Nevada area. Okay. But if you go at night, it's cold. But you camp out over there because there's like zero light pollution in the middle of the desert. Yeah. And you camp out in astrophotography and just staring at you could see the Milky Way. Like it's insane.
That's dope.
Like you have no idea how bad I want to go do it.
You know, I remember Jace had told me what you were mentioning, Wiley, that when you're looking at stars, you're seeing them years ago. You're not seeing them as they are now. Which means if we had the technology to have a telescope to see a star right now, and we were looking at the Earth from another position, we could see dinosaurs roaming the Earth from that telescope.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, that blows my mind that that's the way it works.
If there's life
theoretically
on another planet or star system or something like that, looking at Earth, let's say they're a million light years away, they would see some kind of like prehistoric creature walking around. They wouldn't see humans. Or they might not see it. It might be like Ice Age or something like that. It might just be a big white ball of ice.
Which in return would go for us if we were to find a planet and see. We could be like, oh wow, there's life over there. But then we're thinking, hold up, they may be all gone. Something may have happened by now. Yeah.
Space is nuts and it's awesome.
So
awesome.
I think it's a good point to point out what exactly a light year is, because going forward, when you mention anything involving space, you hear a lot like, what's a light year?
Yeah, like
70 million light years.
It's
To
the
understand the
distance,
vastness of space.
It's the
Yeah.
distance a light travels in a year, correct? Or is it
Yeah.
traveling? Yeah, right.
Yep, so that's correct. So light travels almost 8 times around the Earth per second. So if you shot a beam of light, it can go around the circumference of the Earth 8 times. From Earth to the moon, I don't know what it is. It's a few seconds. I think it's like 40 seconds or something like that. That just goes. So imagine 40 seconds for that light to travel from Earth to the moon. 1 light year is how much light travels from one point to another in a year. So that insane amount of space that the light traveled in that year is 1 light year. And we hear things like the next galaxy over is 70 million light years away.
Okay,
You can't even comprehend that.
1 light year is 5.8 times 10 to the 12th power miles.
What even is that? Is that 17?
It's impossible. It's impossible to like comprehend.
Yeah.
And a lot of space actually, it doesn't even, once you get further and further out to like Andromeda and stuff like that, which is the galaxy that neighbors the Milky Way, it switches not even from light years, but to AU, which is astronomical units, which is like a million light years.
It's like light years exponentially growing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have to
It's
measure
insane.
space in these ridiculous amounts because it's so massive. And another theory is that dark matter, which is what scientists believe makes up, I think it's 90% of space, and dark energy and dark matter, two different things, is what's there. And a lot of things having to do with space is theoretical because we don't actually know. It's impossible to see it.
Yep.
The theory is that dark energy is what's causing space to expand exponentially. So space isn't technically infinite. It's impossible to measure, but they think that it's expanding, and the more it expands, the faster it expands.
Yeah. And
In
Neil
every
deGrasse Tyson
direction.
discusses that in chapter 6 of his book Astrophysics. For
You would
people in a
never,
hurry.
you would never catch up.
It's amazing.
You
No,
know, there's no
it'd be
edge of
impossible.
space.
Absolutely impossible. Yeah. So
That
Wiley,
hurts me.
It
shouldn't be like
hurts
that.
It hurts your brain.
Yeah.
You know, when again, going back to Wheelo, he brought this up to me. He was like, I was like, how can I understand this? Like, as a human, there's no way. And he said it's impossible. Like, no matter how hard you try, you're never gonna understand it. It's just gonna hurt your brain. He's like, think of it as like trying to put a PS1 memory card in a PS2. Like, it's not gonna work, or like a processor. Like, it won't work because
That's like-
there's a higher. It's just higher being or higher. Like, it's not gonna happen. So
if space isn't infinite, if there's technically an edge, no matter how fast it's expanding,
it has
that means
to be
that there has to be an edge. What's on the other side of that line? Nothing.
We wouldn't know.
But you can't imagine nothing
space
because
is finite and infinite. That's the thing. Like, you can't comprehend
Yeah.
it. It's confusing.
but what is nothing?
Can we move
Because
on
you
to
think
the
of
oceans?
nothing and you think of black. But black is a thing.
But here's
the
so
problem.
black
Thing,
doesn't
like-
exist in nothing.
Here's the
Kyler,
problem.
Black has a name. All right. It's not.
Shut
It's
up.
not his identity. Okay.
You just ruined the joke.
Okay.
Darian,
The way-
you say, can we move on to the ocean? We know more about space than we know about the ocean. Like,
I know.
let's
Exactly.
get
I know, which is insane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Which
the way-
we're also
Before
going to be
Big
doing an
Bang?
ocean episode for our listeners as well, because that was a highly requested thing as well.
Yes. The way what Wiley was saying is us comprehending space is like trying to teach an ant theoretical physics.
Mhm.
That is otherworldly to them. That is godly. They know nothing more than dragging leaves and stuff like that. That's what it means to be incomprehensible for the human mind. Like, we can't understand that.
It's
And it
too
bothers
big.
me because I
It's
want
like
to.
saying try to draw a 4D sphere.
What is the fourth dimension? Is it time?
You
Yes.
see it.
That-
No,
That's another. That's
answer,
another.
the answer is yes.
That's another loophole we get.
They've explained it, but it's
The fourth dimension is time, though.
So when we get to Interstellar, I would love to talk about that. And we
Okay.
definitely will, because that talks about the fourth dimension.
All right,
we'll
so
hold
if we're
that
gonna
off
get
for
to
later
Interstellar, we
discussion.
have to move on.
Yeah,
I agree.
D cube Tesseract. but
My turn.
What's
Yes,
your
exactly.
yes
Okay,
your phenomena?
mine is the fitness gram pacer test is a multi-stage.
I hate you so much. That is lights out for the Light Pole podcast. We're done. We're done. That's it. I quit.
Yo.
I'm never coming back.
I'm gone. That was great.
I just had to. Okay, I'm sorry.
You got 4 words in.
Mine was pulsar or noise to simplify it. Basically, it's about neutron stars. So neutron stars are very dense and have a short regular rotational period. So this produces a very precise interval between pulses, like a time frame that ranges from milliseconds to seconds for an individual pulsar or noise. And these pulsars are one of the candidates for the source of ultra high energy cosmic.
Now,
Huh.
I was listening to a podcast about this today.
Dairy.
Yeah, I'm just confused as D. I'm
What
like,
did I just
stars.
listen to?
Neutron
Me too.
stars. Let me
Okay.
explain something. A star,
Yeah.
atoms in general, which make up matter, the building blocks of creation, all that stuff. Atoms are made of protons,
Yep.
electrons, and neutrons.
Neutrons.
A neutron star is a star that is collapsing into itself to the point where there are no longer protons or electrons. It's just a solid mass of neurons.
But the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Why he's trying to...
I love this. I love this.
Anyway, Neil
Okay.
deGrasse Tyson would hate you.
I have all of his books, including his autobiography. He would love me.
So let's to break it down and so that you can understand this. 1 teaspoon. If you were to go to a neutron star and take a teaspoon of the soil, that teaspoon would weigh about as much as the island of Manhattan. That's how
absolutely
dense
insane.
this
Wow.
star is. So these stars are
Crazy.
spinning at this incredible rate, and because they're so dense and they're spinning so fast, they're emitting radio waves. And there's actually a website you can go to, it's even on YouTube, and you can listen to the sounds that these stars are emitting. You can listen to planets.
Wow.
Which is
That's crazy.
awesome. And I actually did. I mean, it just, there are clicks and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
But
like
to
weird
think
noise, right?
that this is a massive celestial body that's millions and millions and billions and trillions of miles away, and I'm listening to it right now, is just insane.
in the vacuum that is space, where
Mhm.
there's like no noise. So
So you said it collapses into itself
itself.
until there's no more what? Protons
Protons or
and
electrons? No, protons or electrons. It's just neutrons, because a
Okay.
matter, an
insane.
atom is made up of 98% like of nothing. Protons, electrons, and neutrons only make up like 3% of an atom. Everything else is just empty space. So it removes
Yeah.
all of that empty space, including the protons and the electrons, and it's just solid neutrons, which is mind-boggling.
And it causes it to make a sound?
Because it's so dense and it's spinning so rapidly. This is pretty much like on its way to becoming a supernova, because it's slowly collapsing into itself. So any pulsar will eventually, or any neutron star will eventually become a supernova, because it's already on its way to collapsing into itself, which supernovas then become black holes.
You know what scene from a movie lives in my head rent free? The end of Men in Black, when they zoom out of the universe, and as they keep zooming out, all the galaxies and all the universes are just a marble, and these aliens are playing with the marble.
Yeah.
Ah,
you saw that on TikTok, didn't you?
I'm not seeing it in the movie, son, but yeah, I saw it on TikTok too.
TikTok, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that to me is like, I love that scene.
I
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not what's
What
happening.
you
But
just said made
I
me
mean-
think of something like Neil deGrasse Tyson mentioned, was how like apes, the difference between us and apes is like a 1% difference. You know,
Yeah.
trying to teach them something is like you can't. Like the most they'll know is like minor sign language. So he was like, "What is 1% above us?" There goes
we
Darius, bro.
always
There it
we,
goes, there it
because we're
goes.
humans, we think of
Exactly.
ourselves as like being at the top, but
So he like is
I
like Stephen
am.
Hawking was like the greatest mind. Say for example, like to them they're like, oh wow, my baby knows as much as this guy.
yeah.
What is 1% above us? Like what is that?
Exactly.
That is crazy. That is an
Which-
insane way to put it.
All right, D, what'd you get?
Yes, sir. All right. So I condensed it a little bit. I got a quasar.
Mhm.
All right. So quasars are extremely luminous, active galactic. Wait, hold on.
Active galactic.
Turn it to Eminem. It's like active galactic. All right.
At least you still rap
Quasars
better than
are-
Joey.
Oh, we remember that, Joey. Are extremely luminous, active galactic nuclei where a supermassive black hole with a mass of millions or billions times more than the sun. And it's brighter than hundreds of galaxies combined. Oh, okay. Let me see if I could share this. Here we go. I'm going to show you guys the picture. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
So that bright spot on the bottom right-hand corner there,
Yep.
that is a quasar. And all those little dots, correct me if I'm wrong,
Those are
Kyler,
other stars.
are galaxies.
Those are
Galaxies.
galaxies.
Those are galaxies.
Wow.
It's
And-
nuts.
Okay, we live in the Milky Way galaxy. Everything we know about space and stuff like that mainly comes from the Milky Way galaxy. We don't know much about the Andromeda. I mean, we have a picture from the the Hubble telescope,
Mhm.
Yeah. of the other galaxies and stuff like that. Take 2 or 3 of those. Those are the galaxies we know.
Two or
All
three
the
of those
rest of them,
dots.
we don't know.
Yeah. And for our listeners, each one of these subjects we're talking about, I found an image for. Obviously, you can find 100 more on Google, but we're going to see if we can put some of these, the ones that we're talking about, on our Instagram. So if you want to go ahead and follow us on the Light Pole Podcast on Instagram, you can see a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. And we'll put a little description of each of them in the caption so you can at least know what they are.
Yeah. But that's wild, man. So basically, like, if we were there in person, it would. Well, you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of just an empty white room. That's kind of like
It's literally like a galaxy made up of pure light.
so you would walk in, you'd be blinded as soon as you were
Oh, yeah.
close. Yeah.
You'd be
our
blinded
lights-
from light years
From
away.
light years away. Yeah. Wow, bro.
Our eyes can't even handle looking at the sun,
The sun,
from
yeah.
Earth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Think about something like that, which is billions of times brighter than the sun and the size of galaxies. Why? That's my
Insane.
question.
It's nuts.
Why?
Why not?
You know what?
We're breaking Darian's brain
Tyler,
little by
what would
little.
you
Okay. So I had 5 subjects. The guys chose 3, and I chose one of them. I got empty. I just took whatever was left over. I wanted them to get the first pick. So what was left for me was the giant void. Now, this is again something that
Heard of
exists,
this.
and it's pretty nuts. Once I get to the last little bit, the last sentence here, it says, unlike a black hole, the giant void isn't a hole in space. Instead, it's curiously empty of both matter and dark matter. Also different from a black hole, light can pass through the void, though scientists believe it contains dark energy, different from dark matter. It is not the only void in space, although it is the largest, with an estimated diameter of 1.3 billion light years.
A diameter?
A diameter of it's a hole in space with nothing inside of it. No stars, no celestial bodies whatsoever. It's not a black hole because you can shoot light through it. So you know that there's nothing there. But for some reason, there's a hole in space 1.3 billion light years in diameter.
All right, so this is
We're all getting frustrated.
hold up.
Yes.
I have a question. All right. Is this giant void because we're talking about space, so it's a sphere, right? Like no matter which direction in space you're coming from.
It's not necessarily a perfect circle or
All right.
sphere.
But
It's just
so
it's,
for
it's
example,
a
if
hole.
I'm
Theoretically.
looking at it head on, right? I know it's
Uh-huh.
1.3 billion light years, whatever. Head on
Mhm.
is this wide. If I somehow made it 1.3 billion miles the other way and went from the side, is it gonna follow that angle, or would it just be like I can go through it that way, but this way is like if it was a piece of paper, you know what I mean?
No, I would say in that case then that it's probably spherical. I get what you're saying now.
Do you understand what I'm
But,
saying,
I mean,
Darian?
I'm
You-
not an astrophysicist.
No,
by
I
any
lost it about
means.
6 minutes ago. Kyler, do you have a
So-
picture of
all right,
this?
all right, all
I
right, all right.
do
saying,
for
like,
some
Look at this,
reason.
look at the CD.
saying-
So if I'm coming at it from this is the hole. If I went around it and came this way, could I just go around it like that?
No, I don't think so. What I'm thinking, and
Oh,
again,
okay.
I could be
I get what
completely
you're
wrong. I could be just.
We probably are.
we
We're
won't-
brilliant
I mean, we
idiots,
won't
guys.
know.
But-
Yeah.
I'm thinking that it was probably because okay, black holes, and we'll get into discussing black holes a little bit in a second. I have notes on them too. I listened to a lot of podcasts today. But black holes also have a lifespan. They can collapse.
Yep.
Now, what I'm thinking is there was probably a supermassive black hole, which is just a really, really, really big black hole that was in that area, probably at the center, sucked in all of the celestial bodies around it,
And left the giant void.
and once it collapsed, it left the void. And I'm gonna pull up a picture of it right
What's the void?
now.
What's in the box?
Box.
You guys see
What's in
that?
the box?
So
Okay, so right now
This
for the listeners, we're
is
looking
the
at.
void.
You're looking at a
It's-
picture of the void from.
It's not super detailed. There's no. I mean, it's a void.
How
in
did they know
space,
that's
so
a void?
void.
It's
There's
just
nothing
blacker
there.
than the
There's
black
nothing
around
there.
it.
There's nothing there. Yeah, it's just empty.
Oh, no stars.
No stars, no light coming from it. You can shoot light through it, but there's no light emitting from it whatsoever for 1.3 billion
Ah,
miles in diameter.
That's
I just got
wild.
goosebumps. That's so creepy.
Yeah. So it's just
Space
empty
whales.
space. Maybe. So, yeah,
Okay, my head hurts.
it was pretty cool. I'll real quick go over the last one that was left that nobody chose. It was called the guiding neutrino. I nicknamed it the beacon. It said a single high energy neutrino that struck Earth on September 22nd, 2017.
Recent.
Physicists at the Ice Cube Neutrino Observatory in Antarctica see neutrinos of similar energy levels at least once a month. But this one was special because it was the first to arrive with enough information about its origin for astronomers to point telescopes in the direction that it came from. They figured out that it had been flung at Earth 4 billion years ago by a flaring blazer, a supermassive black hole at the center of a galaxy that had been consuming surrounding material.
How do you know that? How? What is the calculation?
Is this the movie?
That
What
I
is-
can't answer.
What?
The
Being symbols?
picture.
How- I mean, they put it on a tray or something and looked at it with the micro thing. It said 4 billion light years. There's no way. How do you calculate?
Well, because when they shot the light back to it to its origin, they were able to determine like how far away it was. This is 4 billion light years in that direction.
I feel like
Because
it's
light
accurate
moves a
up
lot
until
faster.
a few light years. I feel like after that, it's all just very vague.
It's
I
probably
know what
just
you
like
mean.
conjecture, like
Yeah.
Like carbon
estimations,
dating.
theories. Yeah. Carbon dating isn't exact either. Yeah.
No, it's
I'm gonna-
accurate for like 1,000 years, and then after that, it's very like it can be very vague.
I'm sending. Or
that-
I'm trying to get a picture of this
On the
up.
screen. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Your face.
So you're
is a
telling me
little-
that was found
Yeah, it's white.
during the Trump administration,
in 2017.
Made
so
sense.
Yes.
and he's still lost?
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
I hate
Okay.
this guy.
So obviously this is an artist's rendering because we have no idea what this actually looks like.
Yeah,
But,
like is it a proton or is it
There you
visible?
go. So that's a supermassive black hole at the center of a galaxy that emitted this beam of light and energy that hit Earth.
That.
That's
4 billion years ago.
insane. That looks like something
Looks
out
like
of
a
Star
quasar.
Wars, my dude. Like,
For
Yeah.
real.
Nuts. It looks like something from the mall. So obviously the black hole is the
Right.
tiny little like singularity in
Yeah,
the center
100%.
here,
Yeah.
and then everything else around it is just like it absorbing
Revolving. Yeah.
the matter around it.
that's so wild.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of black holes,
Did you
let's
hold
say
up?
we get
Okay.
into Interstellar.
Hold up. Before you do that, did you know theoretically white holes exist?
Okay, what is that, like affirmative action for holes?
That's
Like-
what I
No.
was gonna say.
No. So they have. I guess they found. I was reading about it a little bit today, but theoretically, they exist and they are the complete opposite of a black hole.
So they
Do they,
put
like
out,
push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
push out.
Mhm.
Interesting.
So then, in that case, it could be that the void was a white hole that pushed everything out and then collapsed into itself,
Could be.
leaving nothing in its surrounding
What if
area.
But
it was-
where does
what
it
if
get
it was
the
a-
energy to push out?
What if it was a white hole colliding with a black hole?
Stop it, Joey.
I don't know. Well, that couldn't have happened because if a black hole approached the white hole, it would depend on which one was bigger. If they were the exact same size,
Oh,
then
you're right.
probably annihilation.
What would happen?
Annihilation.
Boom, boom, boom. Annihilation.
Because annihilation is when antimatter and matter
Clash.
connects.
Collide.
Yeah.
Because they're complete polar opposites. They annihilate and just destroy themselves and everything in like their surrounding area. I got
Put that
a
out
pink
there.
card over here from work with a whole bunch of black hole facts on it.
Go ahead.
That came from
I'm excited.
an astrophysicist that I was listening
All right,
to
hold on.
today.
Before you start with that,
Mhm.
I want to get into Interstellar as a segue to that because Interstellar
Okay.
is literally about them traveling to
To a
in, and
black hole.
around a black
Yeah.
hole.
Cool. That's fun.
And we mentioned already that that was my favorite movie of all time.
Hmm.
Is
If
it? I
you
don't
guys
remember.
haven't,
Mine too.
if you guys haven't seen Interstellar yet, watch it because we're going into major spoilers for the movie, and that is a movie that you need to see
Mhm.
without any spoilers for the first time. And we'll have a timestamp so you could just skip right over it if you haven't.
Mhm.
But now that we know it's about a black hole, shoot the fun facts because I want to hear them.
Okay. So the point at the center of a black hole is called a singularity. Now, that point nobody's ever seen, obviously, because you can't get close enough to a black hole to observe anything, because even
came back.
black holes absorb even light. So it's literally impossible to see what's inside of it. Now, the largest and also closest black hole is theoretically, this is what we think, at the center of our Milky Way. That's what we think
Okay.
is at the center of our galaxy currently.
That's what everything's spinning around.
Yeah.
Yes, a black hole.
Is there a center? Is there a black hole in the center of every galaxy? Because most galaxies look like ours.
That I don't know.
I wonder.
Well, no, not. I don't think Andromeda looks like ours. It's not a disc shaped. It's
Let's
like a-
look it up.
But reason
Let's
being,
look it up.
what you just said. Reason being is because when you look at the Milky Way, it's just a black mass in the center.
yeah.
But everything needs to revolve around something. What is it revolving around? And since it has
Exactly.
mass,
Andromeda
that,
looks like ours.
It
it
does.
clicks.
It does.
The black
You're
hole.
right. It does look like ours.
Joey, maybe that's just our limited mind
Hmm.
thinking that everything has to revolve around something because that's how we understand gravity and that kind of stuff.
Because up until
Yeah,
This is
this,
the
that's-
Andromeda
up
galaxy.
That's
until this-
Andromeda.
Yeah.
up until this
Yeah.
point, that's how we know it too.
Yep.
Now,
Exactly.
a little fun fact I learned about Andromeda while I was on my deep dive,
Go ahead.
kind of going a little further away from the black holes, but awesome fact. Andromeda is currently absorbing its neighboring galaxy and creating like these massive supernovas. And scientists theorize that in a few billion years, it's going to do the same thing to the Milky Way, and it's going to
To
look
us.
something like this.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
You can theorize all day. I don't know
Yeah, you
how.
can-
That's
Because-
like, I have to take that with such a grain of salt.
You have to-
3.49 billion
galaxies-
years.
There's literally one rounding error in your math. One
Yeah.
any little thing that can happen in space can completely change everything the way we know it. It's like
the Andromeda galaxy is faster than the Milky Way, so the theory is that it's eventually going to overtake Milky Way, which is our galaxy, and start to kind of encroach on our galaxy and slowly, like, just push right through it. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
All theory, all conjecture. None of this is
we'll never
hardcore
see
fact
it.
because you can't. Yeah, not in our lifetime.
So, yeah. Question for people who are listening: if you're listening at this point right now, Google what's at the center of every galaxy, and throw it in the comment. If I don't see it in the comment, then so what's
I do.
You're not a real fan.
Yeah. You know
I don't know where to
what?
go with that one.
That is a good point, though. I would like to hear what do you guys find most interesting about space? Like, if you have any, because
Yeah. Of the facts that we've gone through so far, the Quasar, the Pulsar, the supernovas, the void, which one was your favorite? Which one do you like the most?
or what of your own that you know of that we
Well, yeah.
didn't say.
If you want to send in we could do more of these because space
mine
is
is
huge.
mine is black hole. Black holes just blow my mind.
Yeah, I didn't want to
100%.
put black holes as one of the options because I knew we were going to talk about it as
Yeah.
a group anyway.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
figured we'd throw some other random ones in there.
Oh, that's good.
But continuing with the black hole theories, anything that gets past the event horizon of a black hole, which is the edge that you can get to without falling into a black
Into it.
hole and being absorbed into it. We talked about it before on the top 3 movies episode. It's called spaghettification.
Mhm.
It's when any object is pulled into infinity and you can actually collapse into 2D once going into a black hole because of the ridiculous pressure that's in there. Darian's brain just
Okay,
officially
You will turn
snapped.
into a piece of paper.
Yeah,
Because at what point is
No.
something 2D?
paper
Because paper's
is still
3D.
3D. Yeah,
That is true.
so
yeah.
2D would be
We still wouldn't be able to comprehend it.
Two-
yeah. You
would be
can't
what?
comprehend it.
Papers, but the line that you draw in it is
The line, yeah,
2D.
would be
The line that you
two-dimensional.
draw on a piece of paper is 2D.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Great.
So there you go. Thank you, Wiley.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if you want to break it down completely, would also be 3D because the ink is right. But you know what I mean? But like, if
Something
we're
like
looking
that.
at it,
We're
yeah,
never touching. We're never touching.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
Next. Okay.
2D.
Yep.
So 2D, pretty cool. Anything absorbed into a black hole, energy can never be completely destroyed. So a lot of scientists were like, okay, well, what the heck happens when you get sucked into a black hole? Where do you go? Black holes emit radiation, which is called, what's the scientist's name? Hawking. Because I wrote it down, but my pen was losing ink, so it's hard to read some of this stuff. Hawking radiation. Stephen Hawking is the one who theorized this, and it was later proven. I don't know how or how like accurate that is, but it was proven to be true. So Hawking radiation is what is expelled from a black hole, and that is the radiation, the energy that is absorbed into it from every celestial body that it's absorbed.
Isn't that insane that Stephen Hawking, the modern day Albert Einstein, lived during our times,
Yeah.
but we were too young to like appreciate it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
That dude
That's
was.
sad.
It is sad because
Yeah.
that dude was like literally the Albert Einstein of our time.
Mhm.
Hawking radiation.
You don't always
That's
get
named
that.
after him. No,
Yeah.
you don't. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane. I want to read his autobiography now. He must have one. He could type.
But it's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, go ahead.
It's trapped into a black hole. It's like if you're going to a black hole, like what would you see inside? And you would probably see like a bunch of sunlight trapped in there, like a bunch of light trapped inside. If you think about it, so you go in a black hole, you're gonna be blinded.
In Interstellar, did they go in the black hole?
No,
They went around
they
it.
wrapped
went around
around it. They used it as a slingshot.
Mhm.
The Infinite Horizon.
Going through it would have been too much.
Going
There's
through
no-
it, they would have died. You can't.
Yeah,
you can't go
100%.
through it. You would have passed the event horizon and gone into 2D and died.
Yeah.
It turned into radiation. Supposedly. Yeah. So that was pretty much it for the ones that I had. I had a few other points, but they're not about black holes. So if we have time, I'll throw them at the end of the episode.
Okay.
All right. So for Interstellar, when they did the movie, Kip Thorne, who was basically the godfather of wormhole theories, was on set for the entire space section of the film as a consultant.
Okay.
There were a few things that he and Christopher Nolan clashed on, debating on whether they wanted to sacrifice the art for the science. For example, Nolan wanted faster than light travel to be a part of the film. But Kip Thorne basically convinced him of the impossibility of that. And that's something that we've discussed on this, I think, last episode or 2 episodes ago. This episode alone, we discussed how fast light travels. For something to travel faster than light, we're talking hyperdrive from Star Wars or warp
Wars.
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. That literally is not even theoretically possible.
No. Yeah.
And they've been studying that for decades.
So
Mhm.
it would be kind of like, Darian, I sent you this TikTok about the guy explaining his theory on, I think I sent it to you too, Joey.
Yeah.
His theory and how hyperspace would work in like Star Wars, for example. But basically, it's like bending
Space around
exponentially.
you.
Yeah. So basically, it just starts off, and then I'm gonna draw it right now. The way he explained it is like, say you're drawing a straight line, which is the direction you're going, and then you draw a big loop, and then the next loop you draw is just a little bit smaller, and then a little bit smaller, and then a little bit, until it's basically just like kind of like a barcode where it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. And that's pretty much, you just keep bending space. So it kind of looks something like this. If you guys
Okay. Yep.
It looks like a sound wave,
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
just getting
So,
infinitesimally
It's just
small.
exponentially getting smaller. So
Darren just had a stroke
Yeah.
live on air.
I don't know how to say that word. There's that one word no one can say. Infinitesimally is not my that one's
That one.
Someone write it out for me and
Infinitesimally?
text it. I could read it.
And
Infinitesimally.
I think like he explained it in like simpler terms, like when you're at
Yeah,
the
he did.
airport and you're using that what is it, that walkway?
yes.
You know,
Mhm.
they're
Yes,
two
yes.
people, they're walking at the same pace, but you're using the walkway. You're going really, really fast. You're going a lot quicker.
Hmm.
So technically,
Okay.
But how does that happen
That's a cool way of explaining
in
that.
space? You know,
It doesn't.
How
Not in real
Exactly.
life.
Not in real life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where reality.
And that's what-
comes into play.
That's where science fiction and
Yeah.
nonfiction.
and that's why Chris Nolan had Kip Thorne come on set, because there had to be a line where we can't have these things. If they're completely implausible, then they can't be a part of the film, because that takes away.
Yep.
Yeah, that would
Mhm.
make sense, because there's things you can do in a sci-fi film where you can kind of say, you know what, in the future that may be a real possibility, but faster than light doesn't seem like it would ever be a possibility.
Not for centuries, it wouldn't even be theoretically possible. Maybe
Exactly, yeah.
let's say we got to like the year 2500 and humans are still here, then we might start getting theories on it with the technology that we have. But Kip Thorne was basically saying that for humans to invest any type of money into studying that right now would be
It's a waste of
throwing
time.
into a black hole.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Because our technology is 40 years ago, we didn't even have cell phones. Like, imagine where we're going to be 40 years from now. That's what's
We're
crazy.
advancing quickly, but not quickly enough for that to be a plausible option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he also debated with Nolan about the fact that no planet could survive the gravitational forces of a black hole. And Kip initially said it was impossible, but Nolan convinced him so much to just think about it that Kip went home and did hours of calculations,
Wow.
slept on it, did more calculations the next day, and realized it could be possible.
So
If
a
the black
movie
hole was spinning
director
fast
convinced an astrophysicist that
Wow.
this is
Yes.
possible.
He was like
Nolan
nobody.
is amazing.
He said, nobody, you're wrong. Go think about it. And he did.
Yes. And he did. And he realized that if the black hole was spinning fast enough and the planet was close enough with a stable orbit,
Mhm.
it could survive. But
yeah,
the ship that went around the black hole wouldn't be able to survive. So Miller's planet, where they went and they found the wave and all that, and time was passing, an hour on that planet was 7 years, was it?
3 years.
I think so.
I thought it was
3 years.
Was it 7? I don't know.
A long time.
Yeah. I thought it was 3
1
years.
hour on that
but-
planet was years on Earth because that's the way time was stretched because that planet was so close to the black hole.
Mhm.
Yes.
So he basically convinced him that that was possible. But when the ship went around the black hole after they did that slingshot maneuver, it would have been torn apart. And he said that, and Nolan was like, all right, we're going to have to sacrifice that.
For the plot
Because-
of the movie.
Yeah. We don't get any further if we don't get that ship past this point.
Yeah.
Which I'm
No.
fine with.
Do you know why time moves differently on that planet? Because this
So-
is
Gravity?
real science.
Isn't because of gravity?
Gravity around supermassive objects actually warps time. So the closer you are to an object of that mass and density, the slower time actually moves, and that's real science. That's not science fiction.
Yeah.
Well,
That's so
that's
crazy.
This is
why the-
amazing.
That's why the farther planets in our galaxy, their day is like a year to us, and then like 3
Mhm.
years or whatever, right? That's interesting,
Crazy.
Yeah.
right? But that I'm talking. But you know what? I'm talking about day. I'm not talking about time. So
That's like the
yeah.
rotation of the planet around
Yeah.
the sun, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's-
rotate. Yeah, never mind. I made a mistake.
Time
there.
itself, like
Yeah.
seconds,
Mhm.
are different.
That's insane.
So the
So
the
cool.
gravity from the black hole that's yanking on that planet and spinning it so fast, that kind of thing, that's
Yeah.
what's causing the time dilation on
warp.
that planet.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. It's really cool.
That's mind blowing.
Wow.
Just take a
Yeah.
second and just think about that.
Yeah. So if we were closer to the sun and still able to survive, time would move infinitesimally slower because
Wow, man. Wow.
because we're
Just
closer
flexing
to
on me.
something because we're closer to something that has such mass and density,
Okay.
like the sun.
That is impressive.
Nuts. Yeah. It's
And that's
cool.
just the kind of stuff that makes me appreciate this movie so much more. The fact that
yeah.
Nolan was like, we need to set boundaries. We can make a good movie and we can bend whatever we want to bend and have it just be really awesome and cool. Let's have him go through the black hole because why not? The reason the movie is so good is because it feels like all of this is possible.
That's
It
what
feels like
separates
30
it
years
from
from
the
now.
others. Yeah.
Yes, that could happen.
Mhm.
That's why I love it so much. It feels like, wow, this is what it looks like being flung around a black hole. Like this is what it would be. It's just a
Absolutely.
movie,
Yeah.
but it's so cool.
And that's why some of these movies stand out above the rest, because other directors wouldn't take the time to convince an astrophysicist that this is possible. They just
Yeah.
say, screw it, I'm going to go with this idea because it looks cooler. But then you're watching, you're like, yeah, but this doesn't make sense. Like, if you're going to conform to this law of physics, why aren't you doing it with this law? Like, this breaks the movie.
Yeah, just like picking
And
and choosing. Which,
Nolan went the extra mile to strive to get as close as he possibly can while still making it an entertaining movie. And he nailed it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And where we mentioned before, where that was where the art started to take priority over the science.
Literary
That-
licensing.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
led into the ending scene where Joey mentioned earlier, the whole Tesseract scene where the fourth dimension of time became a physical manifestation in the movie,
Mhm.
which was the Tesseract. When he was floating through those bands of time and you see him punching the strings and that was the book that was falling and he was adjusting the sand falling from the ceiling, that if time looked like anything, like if we could see time, maybe that would be it.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know how you could come up with that and put it into a movie.
Yeah. That's just brilliance on Nolan's part, because that's having to be creative and say, okay, this is a dimension that humans aren't able to perceive. We can't see the fourth dimension.
which means no one
We
can
know-
no one can fact check him. He could be, I can
Yeah,
put whatever the
yeah.
heck I want.
Yes.
he can do whatever he wants, but he did it in a way that still makes sense. If you're watching it and you don't understand what's happening, it looks like a bad acid trip. But if you're following the mentality of the movie and the science behind it, you can say, okay, I see what he's doing. He's those big like bookcase type things. Those are time streams. They're literally, that's like a decade right there, and then this is like another decade, and that's a century over there. And he was moving through the fourth dimension, through time itself, to find his daughter, to send the message that he knew she received all those decades ago. It's nuts. It's
When,
so
and he
awesome.
was there witnessing it,
Yes.
witnessing
Himself,
himself do it, and like
Mhm.
that's crazy.
And
Yeah.
the first time I saw it, I remember when Anne Hathaway's character said, "We don't know who these beings are," and to them, the fourth dimension, time, could just be a mountain they can climb or a valley that they have to go down to reach the future of the past. And that
Yeah.
blew my mind. And I didn't expect that later on in the movie they were going to show us an
Yeah.
example of what time could look like.
It's amazing. It's really,
It is
really
amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
And I understood it, and that's why I love it so much.
And that's
It's
the
not
thing.
like one of those things.
That's another one of those things that we've discussed about Nolan, where while you're watching it the first time, you're like, none of this makes any sense. I don't get any of this. It's confusing. It's weird. I don't like it. But if you're paying attention, if you're really looking at all the clues, he's giving you all the information you need to. You don't need to be an astrophysicist to understand that movie. None of us are, and we all think it's amazing. You just have to pay attention to the clues that he leaves you.
You're not an astrophysicist?
Not yet. I'm getting my master's.
Oh,
as we speak.
the
Yeah.
phone. I thought I
I'm
was speaking to an astrophysicist the whole time.
I'm taking online courses at a community college.
Okay.
But
Greendale?
But yeah, and you can totally follow along and be like, you can appreciate the mentality that and the passion that he put into that project. It's amazing.
That's why it's my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah.
And
Good choice.
The other day, I was watching 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh man.
Are
And
we
I
finally
messaged
going
these
okay.
guys and I said, guys, have you seen 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I hadn't seen that movie for years, so a lot of it was just a blank memory to me. Like
I had never watched it from start to finish. I'd always seen bits and pieces, and I'd read articles about it. I knew the ending was this like insane, like confusing mess. Watching it was a totally different animal. I texted you guys and said that it felt like I drank the inside of a lava lamp.
Dude.
It's so
because
accurate.
I feel like that's more or less what he did when he was directing it.
Oh my goodness.
I
never-
did hear that he was like on acid or something like that, on drugs when he was directing.
it was
I've
the
I don't know how
never-
true
60s,
that is.
dude.
I've
For,
never
it's
felt
most
so uncomfortable, uneasy, nauseous, like that
Dude, I
whole
was
movie.
sitting down and I was spinning.
Yeah, you might have COVID though. I don't know if that was the movie.
Oh man.
They'll start with me. They'll start.
He's
with
like, I don't have taste. I didn't have smell. I don't know what's going on during that movie.
I keep forgetting stuff. I don't know.
Okay,
No.
so
which
I
I
know.
know. I know. Me and Kyler kind of understand that because you heard the interview with Stanley, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Why I didn't watch anything, but I read it. I read his.
I
he sat down
listened to
and
him explain it. Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
So for our listeners who have seen it and are super confused, for anyone who hasn't seen it, just do me a favor and look up the last like maybe 10 minutes of the movie and watch it with no other explanation.
No, you gotta start from the beginning.
Pause this right now.
Yeah.
This will be here tomorrow. Watch
Yeah.
that movie.
Which you
Understand
can find.
going into it.
You can
it's
find
not
on
as-
HBO Max. By the way, it's on HBO Max.
Go
You have to
going
focus and
into
be
it.
patient.
Going into it thinking that it's a movie about like space travel and stuff. Yeah, kind of, but not really.
That's not the main plot. That's just a
Yeah.
tool that they use, though.
So I'm gonna go
Yeah.
in and read the explanation that Kubrick himself gave in an interview talking about it, and he
This
had
is
tried,
specifically for the ending, correct? Not the whole
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
Because
He had
yeah.
avoided for I think he said like 40 years, trying
Jeez.
to explain it because he wanted people to derive their own meaning from it.
He said it
Which
just
I looked
sound,
up themselves.
He said it just sounds wacky when you say it out loud.
Yeah,
than when you,
yeah. So he really didn't want to talk about it, but they finally pinned him down. They were like, "Dude, it's been out for 40 years. Everyone's gotten everything they're gonna get out
You're
of
gonna
it.
die soon. Can you
Tell us,
please?
yeah, tell us your own interpretation,
Before
like
you go.
what you were thinking." So this is what he said. He said, "The idea was supposed to be that he, David, is taken in by godlike entities, creatures of pure energy and intelligence with no shape or form." And that was his like weird like tunnel trip.
Sure. Yeah.
They put him in what is supposed, or what I suppose you could describe as a human zoo to study him, and his whole life passes from that point on in the room. And he has no sense of time. It just seems to happen as it does in the film. They had some idea of something that David might think was pretty, but wasn't quite sure. and
Which
he
was like
compares
it was like
the
bad
bedroom.
French architecture, right? Like
Yeah,
French
yeah. He compares the bedroom in 2001 to the spaces where animals live at the zoo that we think is their natural environment. So like the art and stuff like that that is on the back of
Yep.
like a habitat,
Mm.
that's their version, these godlike beings of this room.
Yep.
When they get finished with him, as happens in so many myths of all creatures in the world, he is transformed into some kind of super being and sent back to Earth, transformed and made into some sort of superhuman. Kubrick concludes, alluding to the Star Baby. I love that name.
Yeah.
Star Baby.
We
Star
have
Baby.
only to guess what happens when he goes back. It is the pattern of a great deal of mythology, and that is what we were trying to suggest. So that is the explanation from the horse's mouth. Director Stanley Kubrick explains
Yeah.
the ending of 2001.
Barely an explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Watching-
basically,
Really, it's a good explanation,
basically,
bro.
Watching
plot
that
of the
movie without
movie-
knowing that is a trip, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's-
hard to
well,
follow.
it's basically these. We'll just call them aliens
Mhm.
just simplifying it. Basically, these aliens, they've been sending these monoliths to pretty much. If you've noticed from the beginning of the movie with the apes, up until the end, anytime they encounter one of these monoliths, they learn how to use something else as a tool, and they progress their.
They advance.
They advance. So if you
As
can see
humans.
these
Giant
these apes after they saw the first monolith, you see one using a bone as a tool.
Mhm.
And
And a
then,
weapon.
And a weapon. And then eventually it progresses to when they find the monolith on the moon, they have these space travel, whatever, but then it progresses even more, and they have these HAL computers, they have all this technology. Now they have the means to go travel to Jupiter's orbit to find the other monolith. So it keeps progressing in terms of their knowledge.
Like checkpoints.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Until they reach that Jupiter one, which is then when he becomes basically an animal in a zoo. And they just study him to see how they can improve him, and then they send him back to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
When I started this movie the other day, when I'm doing work at home, I'll usually pick a random movie on my IMDb watch list that I've never seen,
Mhm.
and I'll watch it while I'm working. This was the one I decided that day. I've heard that it was an awesome movie. I've heard that it's legendary, and it's a movie that people study in film school, but so is The Godfather. This is nothing like that kind of movie. I went into this completely blind with no concept of what this movie was about, and I suggest that to everyone because
It's a different
when
animal.
I finished this, I mean, I messaged you guys and I was like, "What?" Like, I feel like I have to confess that I just did. So, like, I unlocked a different part of my brain. It was that weird and trippy, but
Yeah. No,
it was so good at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Now the monoliths, if you notice, there were 4 of them throughout the movie. The first one appeared, like Wiley said, with the apes, and that nudged them towards the next. I think it's a movie about evolution.
I think, yeah,
Absolutely.
It is,
it's
yeah.
supposed
It
to
is.
be.
Absolutely. 100%.
These aliens, but it's like it's not evolution like naturally occurring. It's evolution.
Yeah, it's
That's
not. It's
forced.
not the way that's taught now here on Earth.
Exactly.
Kind of thing. It's
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 like
a
they're
it's a
pushing
different
them.
take on it. Yeah.
They're kind of like giving a little shove to them,
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
progress.
And you know that these monoliths aren't naturally occurring because they have right angles because it's a rectangle. Nothing naturally occurring in space has right angles, which I read and I found that really interesting because it's true. So when the first one appeared, the apes started to use the bones as weapons, which established a leader in the tribe,
Mhm.
and that put them onto the next set. But what was cool is he didn't need to show us the thousands of years. It went from the bone being thrown into the air
To the ship.
to a spaceship.
Satellite,
Yeah.
yeah.
Coolest transition. It's one of the most famous transitions
Yeah.
ever. I've seen that before in other
Mhm.
places.
There's a name for it. I forgot, but there's a name.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
find
didn't know
it. I'll find it. Go for it.
Okay. And the second time we see it was on the moon when the humans found it. And I was like, for the first 25 minutes, I was like, what am I watching? There's no dialogue.
That sound is so.
Dude,
yeah, I know.
trippy.
I was
Yeah.
wearing AirPods.
All right.
Yeah, that was not fun.
They use that in
No.
other. Haven't they used
I
that
was
in
shook.
other media, like other movies? I've heard it before, but I just
think it's
can't
just a-
remember from where.
It's just a frequency.
Anyways, yeah. Humans
Uh-huh.
found the means to space travel and they traveled to the moon. So like second checkpoint, so second monolith, like
Yes.
you're saying. Yep.
Checkpoint. I like that word.
As
Yeah.
Kyler said.
So when they found that, it triggered that signal to message the other monolith on Jupiter
Yes.
and tell it humans have now gotten to the point where they can not only space travel, but they can get to the moon.
yeah, because
So
it said on the moon they sent a frequency to Jupiter's orbit, right? As soon as that happened,
Exactly.
that was like that beep they heard.
yeah.
that's why Dave and the other guy
For our listeners,
went
these
to
are
Jupiter.
these are the objects from 2001: A Space Odyssey. These are what we're talking about.
Yep. Those are the monoliths. It's basically
Mhm.
like just a black rectangle for people that are listening.
Yeah.
So when that one on the moon sent out the frequency, they went to Jupiter, and there, if I'm correct, that's when the AI computer started going crazy.
Before they got to
Before it.
Jupiter.
It's before
Before
they
it.
got to Jupiter. Yeah,
On the way, that's when Hal kind of
he started having doubts
tossed
about the
Frank
mission,
Yep.
and then-
into space.
So when I was listening to the explanation, it was like the human race became, humans haven't like what is it? Bettered themselves instead they bettered technology.
Mhm.
So they were kind of reliant on technology.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until Hal, the AI, tried to kill him, in which Dave was like, all right, I'm gonna stop relying on technology and I'm gonna take over. I'm gonna do it myself.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
the way he took him
wow.
out was with just one screwdriver, one
Yeah.
simple tool, just like at the very beginning of time, whatever, like a bone.
Wow.
So he took him
That's
out.
good.
Wow.
And then from that point where he was finally, he finally transcended from, I'm stop relying from technology. I'm, dependent on choked on myself. That's when, he made it to the monolith and like third checkpoint, boom.
Okay.
He's going through that whole trippy nonsense.
I didn't
That
pick up
is
on that. That's
so-
good.
Yeah. I
that's-
didn't catch that. So that was the
Very
third
nice.
checkpoint. Humans have
checkpoint.
now stopped relying on technology and understand that they are a higher
Superior,
life
yeah.
form.
Yeah.
Wow, and
And-
that was such an intense scene when he was
Yeah.
disabling Hal
yeah.
for like a
I'm
full 3
afraid,
minutes. His
Dave.
voice just yes, dude.
I'm
Mhm.
afraid.
Yes. His voice just kept getting
He's
deeper
like, "Stop,
and
Dave.
deeper.
Stop,
Stop,
Dave.
Dave. Stop,
Mhm.
Dave." Like
That was
fun.
in my head.
Yeah.
He
And
was
I
there
loved-
with me.
I love how monotone Hal is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's not
Yeah.
emotional, and he's technically kind of a villain because he's like trying to kill the protagonist,
Yeah.
who's Dave.
Yeah.
But it's again going back to the whole like calculating antagonist, where it's just he's a computer and he thinks that he's doing the right thing, that he needs to eliminate the humans to complete the objective in the best way possible.
Yeah.
But the way they made him, it's kind of scarier because there's no emotion there. It's just calculation.
Yeah.
And it's just so monotone, and the voice was just, I love that. That was really good.
And something that says like, no, Dave, it's human error.
Mhm.
If you notice, they're putting the blame on him, but if you think about it, Hal is just zeros and ones and coding. Like, it's
Yeah.
literally humans that messed
Mhm.
up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
But
yeah.
was Hal so they had said, when they asked Dave if he was sentient or not, because when he was doing the interview, they were like,
He
is
said,
Hal
"Do you think he feel emotions?" Uh-huh.
Yeah.
he couldn't answer that.
Yeah.
And the movie didn't answer if he was sentient or not,
Mhm.
which is insane to me because everyone knows, the way humanity is going right now. If technology was to keep going, eventually AI would become
AI.
sentient.
And I don't think we're that far off, to be honest. I think we're
I-
pretty
I-
close. They already have,
Yeah.
what is it, Go? Have you guys heard about Go, the video game?
No.
Or not? I don't know if it's a video game. It's like a super. It's like harder than chess. There's like infinite
geez.
moves and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And it's this crazy game that they created a computer to play, and it took a while for it to beat every single human Go player, but it did. Then in 4 hours, it taught itself chess, and in 4 hours was able to beat every human grandmaster at
Why do
chess,
people do this? Why
and
do
is
people do
now
Yeah.
like on its way
I don't
to
understand.
learning more.
To taking over the world. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's Skynet.
Yeah, it's
It's gonna learn
Terminator. That's what it
tactics.
is.
It's gonna learn all this. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
I'm going to
delicious.
play the chess. Yeah,
So
it's probably
it's
the
a
worst
strategy. Go
Terminator
is a
impression.
strategy game with literally infinite moves, and it's no two games of Go will ever be the same. That's how many like moves. I don't know the exact game, but I've listened to a lot about it. So from what I
I
understand, that's how it works. So
don't even want
the
to
fact
touch
that
it. I don't want
this
to look at it. Nothing.
Right?
Nothing.
I don't
the
want to
fact
know
that
about it.
this
Why you tell me?
computer, this AI was able to do that is it's cool, but it's scary because it's like that's
It
a little
is.
too much.
It is
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So that was the third checkpoint.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the fourth was after Dave went through the space-time travel and he ended up in this 16th century Victorian or whatever
He reached
house.
out.
And in front of the bed appeared the fourth monolith. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I've heard explanations on it. That ending was wild.
Mhm.
How was it that he got there, stepped out of his spaceship, saw himself a couple years older eating, and then his
Mhm.
younger self was gone immediately? The younger self dropped the glass,
Because time
looked
means
up,
nothing.
and he's old.
Yeah.
Time means
That-
nothing
It
there.
was so trippy when he was
It's-
when
it
he was
was.
looking at himself and he became himself.
Yeah.
And
Every
he just
Yes.
kept
every
going.
time
like,
he would look at himself.
like
Yeah.
when he was
Yeah.
eating dinner.
So
and
I
he
thought
looked
he was
back,
gonna turn into
was like-
the monolith, another monolith.
dude,
but-
that'd be so trippy.
That would have been weird. that area where he was past the fourth dimension. That's like the fifth dimension.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
time itself doesn't even mean anything.
That's
it's
That's why Stanley Kubrick
nothing.
said time was happening exactly how you see it play out in the movie.
mhm.
Like it was just
Yeah.
happening.
It's one of those.
Yeah. So then after he sees the monolith when he's laying in bed, and I was like, wow, poor Dave's gonna die, and this guy didn't even deserve any of this. He was just an
Mhm.
astronaut. He's now reborn as a space baby, a
Star
super
baby.
being,
A super, yeah. He's improved.
star baby. Sorry.
He's improved.
The monolith
'Cause
pushed
these-
him
And what?
to the next
The-
next
the
level. of
beings advanced his
And
like
they're sending
his
him back.
being.
They're sending him back to Earth, and it's up to us to think about how it's gonna play out.
So he's technically the fifth checkpoint
Mhm.
because now humans are in physical contact with these super beings because they recreated Dave to be this like superhuman.
Which begs the question: what could those super beings be, and why would they be nudging humanity?
That's 2002, A Space
It's-
Odyssey.
That's why people-
No, there is a sequel.
Is
It's
there?
called
Is there?
2010. Yeah, there's a sequel. But it's not
Really?
Kubrick,
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't care
Yeah.
I
about
want to
it.
watch it.
which is why I'm not gonna watch it. Yeah.
yeah.
It's not
But-
Kubrick. I
That's
don't
I'll
like-
care.
read about
what
it,
is
but
like
I'm not
someone
gonna
said,
watch
like,
it.
he became like a Jesus on Earth.
He's the Messiah, the second
Yeah.
coming of the Christ.
Yeah.
1914.
Yeah. So, yeah,
He becomes
that's-
superhuman, man. I don't know what that means. I don't know.
Maybe
I
he's just
think
super
that-
intelligent.
He's Superman.
He's the next like evolution, the next step in evolution. Past
Like
Did
I
you guys
said,
know
that
Nicolas
1%
Cage's son is
above us.
named Kal-El?
Yeah, Nicolas Cage is a massive Superman fan, like
Do
ridiculously
you
huge.
remember he was supposed to do a movie?
That's a
Superman.
segue and a half.
Superman
I don't
dies.
know what the
Yeah,
heck that was.
Yeah, I don't know where we're going with this, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was so random. But okay.
Super
Okay,
baby. Did
let
you
me-
know Nicolas Cage is
Let me explain. Okay, because I know you guys wonder sometimes. Joey said Superman,
I
and
got
I
it.
remember
No,
got it.
I get it.
today
get
I saw a
it, but-
picture of Nicolas Cage with his son, and I read a comment saying his son's name is Kal-El, and I was
crazy.
like, "Wow, this
he,
dude's wild."
he owns a first issue Superman comic book, Action Comics.
He's also
The
in
first
massive
one.
debt because he buys stupid stuff like first issue Superman comics. he's in so much debt, dude. That's why he does
Oh,
so many
shoot.
B-list movies.
That's why he does a lot of
Nicolas
movies.
Cage is wild.
I think one of
Nicolas
my
Cage in the doorknob.
I
Like,
think
that's the kind
I
of stuff
think
he
one of
does.
my
Community?
favorite I think one of my favorite
Yeah.
community episodes is like, is Nicolas Cage good or bad? And it breaks
Abed's
brain.
brain just snaps in two. When he starts impersonating Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage, he's like, "Don't watch more than one a day." And he watched like
No,
all
3.
of them, and like
He said 3. He was like, don't go past 3 because you'll deep dive.
you'll
and-
die.
Yeah.
See, I knew we would go on a Nicolas Cage
Yeah,
tangent.
anyway, but that's
That's
not
what
the
I brought
point
it
of
up.
this episode.
We're going back to the movie.
Hour 45,
yeah.
by the way.
But yeah, no, that's 2001: A Space Odyssey in a nutshell, as small of a nutshell as we can get it, because that's a big movie to unpack.
I don't know the last time we've had a movie like that where it's more art than it is box office sales. I'm sure there's ones out there, but
It's probably none
That
That was
was a
in
movie-
1968. I'm sure we've gotten something.
That movie was way ahead of its time too,
Oh
man.
man.
Yes,
That
it
was
holds up.
absolutely insane.
It all looks like it could have been made 10 years ago. The only thing that feels
Yeah.
old is the way that people speak and the way, not even the way they dress. It looked normal.
Well, because they made it like futuristic.
Eating their food out of the tray with straws.
Yeah.
All right,
I was
Kyler, you
laughing.
love Nolan for his practical effects and you love the rotating set.
Uh-huh.
Stanley used that in this movie. The scene where the waitress goes
Yeah,
walks
I
like
did see that.
and
That
it-
was weird.
It was a rotating set, and they were rotating the cameras at like the same angle. It was. I saw a video about it. It was wild.
even
Dave running
even
too,
when
right?
Dave
When he's
and
running,
Frank were
when he's
running, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, what was that? He said,
Yo, that's how they trained back then,
Power
bro.
walking.
You saw he was in the tighty whities in those shorts. That's how the men kicked it back then.
"Oh my goodness."
Yeah. Anyway.
Dinner.
Okay, so I mentioned that I had a few more facts. Going through them, I realized we talked about most of them actually.
Mhm.
There's one left that I found.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Just to as a little tidy wrap up to our first. This is more of like a discussion episode, which I really
Yeah.
like because
I'm down for
talking
it.
about stuff like that is
shoot.
just really fun and throwing.
Just feels
Again,
good.
I'm telling you, that's
To-
what the "and more" means in our description.
Yeah.
You know, we got
Yeah.
movies, we got TV, we got
We got
games
Nicolas
or whatever,
Cage.
but we got the "and more." So
Now, to everyone listening, I've said it before. We've all acknowledged it. None of us are astrophysicists. None of us are
Speak
like
for yourself.
actually educated in this. I've listened to podcasts where I hear other people talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if they're completely 100% accurate in every single bit of their information. So if you know something that we got wrong or that we
you're-
didn't explain fully,
if you work at
By all
NASA,
means.
please contact us.
yeah.
And,
If you're an alien and you've actually been to this singularity inside a black hole,
If you're a super
If you
baby,
hit us up.
please
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. If you are the super baby from 2001, the Space Odyssey,
Dave Bowman, please get into contact with
message
us.
the Light Pole podcast.
But yeah, no,
my
definitely get into contact on our email, our YouTube. If you want to comment down below, if you want to leave us a review or something like that, whatever, please let us know, and we'd be happy to do another one of these because this is way too much fun to.
We're
only
on
do this.
TikTok now. We're gonna start putting highlight clips on there. So
yeah, we made a TikTok.
That's right.
I will be working on some highlight videos.
Are we really?
Yeah, I made a TikTok today at the Light Pole
News to
podcast. Yeah,
Kyler.
Shoot. Okay.
Light Pole.
There you go.
The,
So yeah.
the Light Pole podcast, same as our Instagram, same as our email. So.
And again, yeah, go to our
Sir.
Instagram to look at any pictures that have to do with the things that we were discussing, the different space phenomena. We use Zoom today, so we could each share our images and stuff like that. So for anyone watching, you'll see it here in the video. But for anyone listening on podcast, by all means, go over there so you can get a glimpse of some of this insane stuff that's out in space. But to wrap it up, we have a nice picture of Dave Bowman staring at us, courtesy of Darian.
Yeah.
One of the questions in the podcast that I was listening to, because the one that I got a lot of this information from, they're three guys, friends like us, don't have any like background in any of this stuff, and one of their brother-in-laws is an actual like astrophysicist, and he and his friend were guests and they were answering a lot of the questions. And one of the questions the guys asked was, are there any, like, how is it that we're discovering all of these like new planets? Because on average, I think NASA since, was it 1970, I think it was, or 1990, one of those.
1971.
Thanks, Darian. Has discovered 500 new planets. So
It's just like
they were asking, how is it that they're making these discoveries? How do you find a planet? Because they're too far away for us to really like get a good look at. And one of the really cool things that they said was how they did it was they'll look at the parent star in that system. So it would be like our version of the sun in the Andromeda galaxy or whatever. And they'll look at when a planet orbits the sun, the light that the sun emits actually dips for a little bit. So they'll look at this like wobble in the light and they'll say, okay, so there's a planet here, and they'll measure the percentage that the light drops to determine the size of that planet that's orbiting said star. So that's one of the most effective ways for
So
NASA to discover
crazy, man.
planets. Yeah,
I love it.
it was pretty awesome. I had so much fun researching all this stuff, writing it down, and talking about it because, again, it's just really weird and cool, and it breaks your brain a little bit, but it's fun to just kind of get out there and discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that brings us to the final words here, Joey.
Wait,
Break it
hold
down
up.
for us,
Wait,
brother.
wait.
Oh.
Wiley, continue. You
I would just like to remind everyone, I will keep reminding until we have enough. Send your questions to us. We've gotten a few good ones. And we keep them coming.
Yes,
It could be
please.
questions about this, questions about space. What are your opinions on this? What do you think of this?
Mhm.
Even, can you do an episode topic about this? Literally any question you have,
Suggestions,
whatever, send it, because we want to do a Q&A episode and we want your feedback. I've been receiving a lot of feedback from a lot of our loyal friends and viewers, which I thank you guys so much, because it's awesome where every week the same people text me and say, hey, I love this episode. Hey, I like this. Hey, I like that. Like, just to name a few, Justin and Angel Cruz, Alex and David, Danny Alvarez, the same people. I love it. So
Literally
This
my
whole
entire
episode-
cousin.
yeah, all of Darian's cousins. Yeah,
80% of our viewership is Jaren's cousins.
Kyler's parents. So many people. Yeah.
80 or literally this whole episode was because of viewer and listener feedback. We wouldn't have necessarily done something like this, but a lot of our listeners came back and said, hey, when you guys started talking about space and like the ocean and stuff, that was really cool. Can you do like an episode? And we're like, heck yeah. And that's the ocean is going to be our next Goliath to tackle, because that's
I'm looking forward to that. I like the ocean.
yeah. So
Up on that one.
yeah.
Ocean's wild.
Ratings and reviews, if you guys wouldn't mind, if it's not too much, go ahead and on Apple Podcasts. I don't know if you can leave a rating on Spotify. Is that a thing? I don't think you can.
Good question.
I don't know.
Definitely on
Spotify's
Apple,
like- Yeah.
and
you
I think
can.
on Google Play you can too.
Please don't listen to our podcast on Google Play. If you are, stop. Turn on another podcast. I don't want any listeners on Google Play or Castbox or Amazon Fire Stick.
Oh, there goes my dad. Thanks for that, D.
That's Tony.
Bye, Pop.
Sorry.
I'll read one
There's one.
review
Right.
by a track butter. Says nice. It was 5 stars.
See, that's all we need.
And
That's all you need.
And said good content, keep it up. That's all I need. Thank you very much. I like the
5
nice.
stars.
Yes.
There
it
you
does.
go.
Yes.
And
That helped
that's
them
all we
get
need.
the
And the
knowledge.
ratings really help us to get some exposure and stuff like that. And we really appreciate it. We'll hand it off to Joey to wrap us out.
All right, everybody. Thanks again. We love you. And that's Lights Out on the Light Pole Podcast.